Hello, guys, and welcome to your Nutrition Made Easy session. Today, we're going to focus on doing the basics well. How to do the basics well, what do we need to do, and what does that look like? So it's Coach Jay here. Hope you are all well. Grab yourselves a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, a notepad and pen, and let's delve in. So what does a good diet look like? Everybody's going to have a slightly different opinion or understanding, but generally speaking, we're all going to be on the same page with this. So good nutrition is about eating a balanced, healthy diet that provides your body with the vitamins and nutrients, the minerals that you're going to need to function properly. To achieve a good diet and good nutrition, you should always look at your diet as an overall. What do you do generally day to day? What's the thing that you do most regularly versus what do you do occasionally? So what will dictate a good diet is the 80-90% of what you do, not the 10-20%. So how do we achieve a good diet? We have a varied diet that includes plenty of whole grain products, lean proteins, healthy fats, vegetables, and fruits. We look for nutrient-dense food that are low in calories, so you're getting lots of bang for your buck. And what we mean by that is larger portions of food for less calories. Eat regular meals, so eating, when you feel like you need to eat and you're not starving yourself. There's no specific number of times you should eat a day. Eating twice a day is okay. Eating 3 times a day is okay. Eating 5 times is okay. But it's good to have kind of regular eating patterns that can be helpful. You are going to limit foods in saturated fat. You're going to avoid eating excessive amounts of salt, avoid eating excessive amounts of sugar. We are going to consider that no one food is bad, and we are going to look for a balance of carbs, fats, and proteins. We also want to encourage good gut microbiome and make sure that we have a large variety of foods, probiotics, and fermented foods. So that is how we are going to achieve that. Now, what I would like you to do is pause the video and list 10 reasons why you think it would be beneficial to have a good diet. So pause the video, write them down, and then when I go through mine, they might be slightly different, but we can reflect and we can think, are there any others that I could consider being good reasons to have a healthy diet? So we're going to do number 1, you may live longer. Number 2, keep your skin, your teeth, and your eyes healthy. Number 3, supports muscle. Number 4, boosts immunity. Number 5, strengthens bones. Number 6, lowers the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and some cancers. Number 7, helps with digestion. Number 8, helps keep a healthy weight. Number 10, makes you feel good and more confident. It can also help with mental health. The list goes on. I could carry on writing this list, but there's 10 straight off the bat from me. Just because you have different ones, that doesn't mean that they're wrong. That was just me reeling 10 off the bat. The list is endless of reasons why we should eat a good, healthy diet. So what does a bad diet look like? And again, open to some opinion, but in my opinion, a bad diet is one that doesn't give your body the nutrients it needs. It doesn't give you the vitamins and minerals that you need to live a happy, healthy life. What does that look like? So foods that offer very little nutritional value, so highly processed foods, diets that are high in sugar, saturated fats, or salts. If you are lacking fruit and veg, if you are following overly restrictive diets where you're lacking variety, so you may be dieting, you may be in a calorie deficit, but you are having the same thing day in, day out with very little fruit and veg and leaving yourself hungry, tired, and depleted. And then, of course, not what the presentation says, lots of calorie dense food. What we actually want is we don't want lots of calorie dense food. So a little bit of a typo there, but yes, we don't want too much calorie dense food. So there are a couple of things that a poor diet may look like. And we're going to reflect on 10 reasons to avoid a poor diet. So what would having a poor diet do to us? Pause the video, write down 10 things, and then we can continue, play the video. Yours may be different to mine, and if we are, that's fine. Let's just see what you've got. So I've got things like poor digestive system. I've got poor immunity. I've put tiredness. I've put irritability, weight gain, poor confidence, risk of disease. We've got shortening your life. We've got poor skin, and we've got lack of motivation to do things. So there's a list of things that I've put down. Yours might be different. And again, this is about you thinking, why would you not want to have a bad diet? So when we are following a good diet, if you look at the diagram, you're going to see a large triangle in green and a small triangle in red. That is 80% of your diet being good, healthy, nutritionally well equipped food. So things that are going to be very nutrient dense, things that are going to have plenty of goodness in there, foods that are going to aid a good diet. And the red are things that are going to be very poor in nutritional value, things that aren't necessarily going to help you live a good healthy diet and a good healthy life. In the red, the large red triangle, that's the opposite way around. So that's 80% poor diet, 20% healthy food. So somebody who eats 80% good and 20% what we consider less healthy foods, those guys having a Mars bar or having a coffee from Costa or having the odd bag of crisps isn't going to do them any harm, because most of what they do is going to be very good. If we look at that in conjunction with the large triangle, where we have a large red triangle, the people that do that, they might have the odd salad, they might have a bit of fruit, but because the majority of what they're doing is poor, and they're making poor food selections and high fatty foods, even though they have a little bit of healthy stuff, their diets are going to be pretty poor because of the majority of what they're doing isn't great. So we've got to look at our diet as an overall, not as individual foods. A person that eats a healthy diet with a little bit of bad stuff is going to be very healthy. A person who has an unhealthy diet with the odd bit of good stuff is going to be unhealthy. So what are the effects of calories? So in the most basic form, calories come in 3 different areas, and this is what we call the law of thermodynamics. So you're always going to be eating in 3 different ways from a calorific perspective. So this isn't anything to do with what we eat. This is purely to do with the amount of calories we put in our body. So we can eat in 3 ways. Pause the video and write down what you think surplus means, what you think maintenance means, and what you think a deficit means. So if you are eating at maintenance, we'll start that first. That means that your weight will not change. You will remain that same weight the whole time you eat at maintenance. If you eat in a surplus, it means you will gain weight. And if you eat in a deficit, you will lose weight. It is impossible to lose weight if you are not in a calorie deficit. So if you think you're in a calorie deficit and you are not losing weight, that means you are not in a calorie deficit, despite what you may think. Now, when people have success longer term, is because they maintain a healthy weight. If an individual is continually in a deficit and then continually in a surplus, that is certainly not what we want. What we want is for an individual to potentially, if they need to diet, enter into a calorie deficit, be in a calorie deficit for a period of time, and then go to maintenance. At times, if someone's dieting for a long time, they might be in a calorie deficit and then go back to maintenance and back to a deficit. That's absolutely fine. The only time we want to consider being in a surplus is for very, very short periods of time. Like you may go to a wedding and you end up having an overindulgent weekend. It's quite possible you're in a calorie surplus. The best solution is to come back, to make sure that you spend a couple of days just restricting a little bit, create a bit of a deficit, and then if you are maintaining, you can go back to maintenance, knowing that you're not going to gain any weight. So it's very important that we know whereabouts on that scale we are, whereabouts on that scale we need to be, and whereabouts on that scale it would suit us to be long term. If you are somebody who is always in a deficit or always in a surplus, that's what we consider yo-yo dieting. That's potentially what we don't want. Now, what I would like you to do is pause the video and reflect how much time you have spent in the last 6 months, 1 year, and 5 years in each of these areas. And if you're continually in a deficit or a surplus, it's potential that we need to consider about doing things slightly different. And when you do feel yourself coming out of a deficit, because either you've got fed up of dieting, or you feel like you need to get some more fuel in, you're feeling hungry, feeling tired, we need to consider what maintenance looks like. We want to avoid, in the most part of our lives, being in calorie surplus, because again, that doesn't aid health. So there's 2 triangles. There is a green triangle, which is quite large, and a red triangle, which is quite small. There are 2,000 calories in each triangle. What do you think the size of each triangle represents? And which of those triangles will elicit the most weight loss? Pause the video and write down your answers. So what do you think the size of the triangles represent? And which of those triangles do you think will elicit the most weight loss? So here's a simple answer. When we're talking from a calorific standpoint only, if we followed the same calorie diet for 6 weeks, whether it be the green triangle or the red triangle, it is likely that we will get the same result. Now, that's because calories and the law of thermodynamics will dictate the amount of weight that we lose. Now, the triangles represent all the food that you're going to get by eating a healthy, good diet, and all the food that you're going to get by eating a poor diet. And as you see, the size of the triangles is vastly different. And therefore, if you're eating a good, healthy diet, you're going to get more food for your calories. If you're eating a poor diet, you're going to get less food for your calories. So although each diet will elicit the same amount of weight loss, you're going to feel vastly different eating healthy versus eating poor food. If you're eating unhealthy, poor nutrient-rich food, and you're dieting and you're not eating the right stuff, it's likely that you're going to be very hungry. Obviously, if you're eating the right things and you're having the right calories to create a calorie deficit, and you're focusing on satiety and getting plenty of good stuff in, plenty of fruit and veg, you've got a better chance of sticking to your diet and getting long-term success, and also feeling good, feeling motivated, and feeling like, you know, being in the diet isn't too much of a chore. So we're going to pause the video and we are going to reflect on how you are going to feel. How will being on this diet make you feel? So if you are eating really healthy, and although you're in calorie deficit and you're getting plenty of fruit and veg, lean meats, or lean protein if you're vegetarian or vegan, plenty of fruit and veg, plenty of complex carbs, there's likelihood is you will feel good, you feel energized, you feel that you've got lots of energy, you'll feel full, you'll feel satiated, you'll feel like being in a diet isn't too much hassle, and you'll enjoy the process. You'll start to get used to eating different, healthier foods. And the most important thing is your skin will look good. The whole thing of feeling good, feeling like you're motivated to train. So not only will it help you lose weight, keep full, you'll actually feel better and more energized. Alternatively, if you're eating a poor diet and you're dieting eating a poor diet, you're going to feel tired, you're going to feel fed up, you're not getting enough nutrients in. And again, you're not going to have the energy to train. So not only are you going to be hungry, but you're not going to feel great. So if you're dieting, we always recommend, even though it's about the calories, and the calories are the underlying factor which will dictate whether you lose weight or not, there are different ways to get those calories in, and the healthier and the more nutrients you get in and the greater volume of food you get in for those calories, the more benefit it is going to be to you. And therefore you have more chance of sticking to a diet long term, and there's more chance of sustainability and long-term results, and actually feeling good while you're in the dieting process. And again, when you feel like you're kind of getting towards your goals, getting towards your targets, continue to eat the same healthy foods. You just get to eat slightly more at maintenance. Now, all too often we see diets failing. It can be people who have worked with us for a while and they haven't fully completed the process and got to maintenance before they stop dieting. It can be people who have come to us and they have worked with the coaches or they've dieted themselves and they haven't finished the job, so to speak. So what we're going to look at is why do diets fail? There's quite a few reasons. Those reasons can be easy to navigate when you know how, but when you don't, that can become quite difficult. So what I would like you to do is pause the video, write down reasons why you think that those diets could fail, and also what are the solutions to the diet. So why do you think that diets fail, and what are the solutions? And here's my list of things that I see regularly. You might have something different on this list. And again, it's about problem solving. It's about looking at the big picture. If you know something doesn't work, why does it not work? And what can we do to make it work? Or what can we do better to help get long-term success? So why your diets fail and how to fix this. So first thing that we're going to come on is relying on willpower. Now, everybody is going to have a finite amount of willpower and motivation. And therefore, if you are relying on willpower and motivation, that can dwindle. What we find is more important is to create new habits, to create new behaviors. Those that have been with us for a while may have come across, I was talking about non-negotiable behaviors before, where you set certain criteria for your week and you make certain behaviors non-negotiable. Once we start understanding that things are non-negotiable, e.g. brushing your teeth is something that is non-negotiable, you don't rely on willpower. It's very unlikely that anybody will need to rely on willpower to brush their teeth. They will just get up and do it because that's what they have learned to do over time. It has become non-negotiable and therefore become a habit. If somebody said to you, right, let's not have a shower for 5 days, the likelihood is you would say, well, actually, I don't think I want to do that because it's non-negotiable. It is something that, although it takes some minimal level of effort, it's something that you do regularly, and it's something that you'll be unwilling to not do for 5 days, and therefore it is a non-negotiable behavior that you'll shower regularly. You don't need willpower to drag yourself in there. So again, this is about things becoming habit. Now, when you start seeing your health as non-negotiable, that's when the game changes, and that's when you actually start really focus on this stuff and not seeing it as so much of a chore. If the way that you view it is that doing the things that are going to help you progress is going to benefit your health, and we go back to the list before, focus on that list and think, okay, I don't need to rely on willpower. What I need to do is set some behaviors to get me where I want to be and to help get long-term success. The next thing is not using support structures. Now, again, this is speaking to your peers and speaking to people who will tell you the truth. You don't always want to speak to people who will tell you what you want to hear. You need to speak to people that will tell you the truth. So us as coaches here, we are very good people for you to come to and ask questions of us. We will give you our most honest answers. And if you are struggling with something, we see too often that people might wait a couple of weeks before they put their hand up and go, I need a little bit of help. My suggestion is the minute that you feel that you are struggling with anything, don't be afraid to put your hand up and ask for a little bit of help from your coach or from your peers, the other guys in the gym, and get straight back to doing what you need to do because you've had that conversation, you've heard it, and you found a solution. So use the support of people around you. Don't sit and wait weeks and weeks and weeks, knowing that you know you're not adhering, or knowing that you're not doing the things that you know you should be doing to get your results, and then not putting your hand up. So that's the purpose of using the support structure. Put your hand up, ask for help, and then you will be given it. Okay, unrealistic expectations. If you are being unrealistic in what you are expecting, it can then be demotivating when you don't hit those targets. So if you are expecting to lose 1.5 kilos per week and you only lose 0.7 of a kilo, and you feel that 0.7 of a kilo isn't good enough, then that tells me that you have unrealistic expectations. Anywhere between 0.3 and 1 kilo per week is a good amount of weight loss. So anywhere in that zone is good. If your weight holds for any period of time, like 1 to 2 weeks, again, that is okay, providing that we see a trend in movement either side of that. If you don't see that, that's at the point where potentially you need to adjust what you're doing. But generally speaking, if you're seeing anywhere between 0.3 and 1 kilo loss per week, that is more than acceptable, and that is a good amount of loss. So if you are listening to this and there are weeks where you might only see 0.4 of a kilo and you expect to see more, it's important that your expectations are realistic and you understand that actually that's okay. Goals only being outcome focused. So what this means is that an outcome is a specific amount of weight loss. It's running a 10K in a certain amount of time. It's lifting a certain weight in a certain movement for a certain amount of reps. So it's things that are specifically outcome. So you want a specific outcome. It might be that you want to lose 10 kilos. That is a specific outcome. Now, whereas having those as goals are okay, and it's good to have the big picture, that is something that you can work towards, something that you can keep in your mind. Don't let those be your only goals. So goals being process-driven can also be very good. A process-driven goal may be that you're going to go and walk 10,000 steps every day. A process-driven goal might be that you're going to train 3 times a week. It might be that you're going to stay within your 1,800 calorie target every single day, and then focus on those as goals. That's where your focus needs to be. There are things that you can control. You cannot control the outcome. You can hope that you're going to get the right outcome, and in most cases you do, providing we're doing the right type of work, but you certainly can't control that. And therefore, having goals that you can control the outcome of is always really good. So as stated before, you can be dieting and eating poor food, providing you are within your calorie intake, but this is a recipe for failure. If you are dieting and you are in a calorie deficit, it's always a good idea to try and focus on getting the most bang for your buck. And what that means is, how do you make sure you have the biggest meal you can, the least amount of calories? This is how you're going to feel full, you're going to feel satiated, you're going to feel like you're getting lots of food and you're not starving yourself, even though you're in a calorie deficit. Fad dieting. Now, fad dieting is obviously something where you're already in the mindset of you're looking for a quick fix. The reason that this can fail is that we're not focusing on what the underlying problem is. The underlying problem is you're eating too many calories of the wrong type. So if somebody is continually trying to find a new solution without addressing the fact that they are eating too much poor food, then the fad diet does not work. What we really need to do is address how we're eating, what we're eating, and then making sure we're in a calorie deficit. What that means is that when we go back to eating normal, we have a new normal where we're still eating all the healthy food, we're still eating all the fruit and veg, we're still making sure that we're full up, but also we can eat a little bit more because we're at maintenance. If you're looking for something that is considered a fad, and what I mean by that is things that are, coming in the way of shakes, or things that are almost a quick fix, and then you've got to go back to your old diet, you're always going to gain the weight. Yo-yo dieting. So again, this is what we spoke about before, whereas you're always in a deficit or always in a surplus. So if you're continually yo-yoing between a deficit and a surplus, you are never going to get long-term success. Now, when you are dieting, if you feel like you've been in a calorie deficit and you don't feel like you want to diet anymore, that's absolutely fine. If you have got a certain amount of results, you know you still need to get some more, but you need a rest. It's a good idea to take your calorie intake to maintenance, understand what that maintenance looks like. Obviously, one of us coaches can help you do that, and then diet again when you feel like you're ready to do that. But certainly where we see the biggest mistake is people go from dieting to going into a surplus and therefore gaining weight and then start from scratch. That's not what we want. The next one is an incomplete or flawed understanding of basic nutrition. Well, I hope that this presentation has dealt with some of that. If you are unsure of anything, use your check-in process to ask some questions, and then, of course, your coach will give you the best possible answers. Eating and drinking hidden calories. Again, something that we can see quite often is people having drinks and not tracking them or not understanding that there's calories in them, particularly things like, you know, the Costas and the Starbucks, which are very calorie dense, sugary drinks. Pretty much anything that you put in your mouth is going to have some kind of calorific value to it. So consider what that looks like in anything that you are drinking. And again, eating, are you picking if you're putting the kids' tea out and you're picking the odd bit and you're having the odd bit extra here and not tracking it again? That is something that can then lead to a diet failure, because over the course of the week you're actually eating too much but not recognizing it. Lack of eat and NEAT. What the heck is that, I hear you ask? So EAT is exercise activity thermogenesis, and NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That is basically the amount that we are moving. The first one being the amount of exercise that we are doing, and the second one being the amount that we are moving away from exercise, like the amount we are walking our steps. So making sure that we are exercising regularly and we are keeping active and moving is going to be a benefit. Again, we always try and put this across. Your nutrition will dictate whether you lose weight or not necessarily your exercise, but exercise will aid it. It will be a massive benefit to you both mentally and physically if you are dieting. It will help keep you motivated. However, the underlying factor is making sure that we're on top of nutrition and you get that nailed. Big one for me, this is not learning to maintain. Are you dieting and going back? Well, very similar to your dieting, but is it the fact that you do not know how to maintain? Do you not know how to maintain your weight when you get there? If you do not, again, this is something that you need to have a chat with a coach about and try and understand why you're not. A good piece of advice is that, do you want to be tracking your calories every single day of your life? Absolutely not. You don't necessarily have to track your calories when you're dieting, so you certainly don't need to track them in maintenance. But what is important is understanding the amount of calories your body needs. Now, tracking your intake is one very good way of doing this. So you go to maintenance, you can track your food for a few weeks, understand what that looks like, and therefore that is what your new norm looks like, and that's what you have to look at long term. Alternatively, people might not want to do that, and that's completely understandable. You may have lost weight indicatively by just trying to understand what your body needs, and this is exactly the same. If you start seeing your weight gain and you think you're at maintenance, that means that you're not at maintenance, you're actually in calorie surplus, and you need to demonstrate what you're having just a little bit and try and look what will lower your weight up. So that's about learning how to maintain. And then, of course, short-term thinking. Are you thinking about things short-term? Have you no long-term objective? If you haven't that long-term objective, it may just be that you are making decisions based on how you feel at that particular moment in time, rather than how you feel you're going to look and feel and want in the future. So very important to think about the future. It's almost the opposite of only having outcome focused goals. This is almost like the opposite of that, when you're only thinking, you know, very, very short term. How do you want to feel in the future? How do you want to look in the future? How do you want your nutrition to be in the future? What does the new you look like? So it's also important to think long term. So we're going to have the long term goals, as well as what do I need to do here and now. So thank you for watching this.